we're very lucky to have a great panel for you here today. And so I want to give a big thank you, first and foremost, to Sonia Brown from the Office of Civic Engagement and Volunteer Service. When our committee started planning this and knew that there was a office at the city level focused on volunteering, thought they'd be a good person to reach out to, but really didn't have any direct contacts there. So I just sent a blind email saying kind of here's what we're thinking about. Sonia responded in like 5 minutes saying, yes, we're in, we'll do it. And he's really gone above and beyond in recruiting other panelists and putting together a presentation for you all today. So I want to give a big thank you to Sonia. Also want to give thanks today to the William Way Community Center for hosting our forum here today. They're also one of the organizations who will be talking to you a little bit later on about some of the specific opportunities they have here at the center for volunteers. So a little bit about how today is going to work. We're going to start off with our panel presentation. There's going to be time for questions, time for some discussion. And then after that, we have some representatives here from different organizations around town who are going to take a couple minutes each to just tell you more specifically about what their volunteer opportunities are and ways that you can get connected with the various services that they have going on and the ways that volunteers plug in with their organization. And then we'll have some time for you all to go around and talk one-on-one with these representatives from these different organizations in the greater Philadelphia area, so you can really get connected with some volunteer opportunities.
So who we are. So my name is Sonia Brown. I am the Deputy Service Officer of Volunteer Engagement with the City of Philadelphia's Office of Civic Engagement and Volunteer Service. That is a mouthful. So that's who I am, and I'm going to get into a little bit about what we do later on in the slides, but I'm going to pass this now to my colleague Laura.
Hi, as Sonia mentioned, my name is Laura Garcia, and I'm the Program Director of the Foster Grandparent Program, which sits I'm speaking loudly, am I? Yes? My name is Laura Garcia. I'm the Foster Grandparent Program Director, and I have the great pleasure of working with Sonia Brown.
Good afternoon, buenas tardes. My name is Lidia Hernandez-Velez, and I'm the Deputy Managing Director for Aging for the City of Philadelphia. And as such, I manage the Mayor's Commission on Aging. And I'll talk a little bit more later about what we do.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name's Linda Pickett, and I work with Philadelphia Corporation for Aging. Many of you may be aware of. I am the Assistant Director of a program called In-Home Support and Volunteer Services. And I guess under my direction, I am responsible for several volunteer programs that I will share with you later.
So now we're going to get into the programming that we directly are related to. So as I said, I'm the Deputy Service Officer of Volunteer Engagement for the city, and so part of what I do 2 major things, and then of course several smaller things, but the 2 major things that I do is I'm the grant administrator for the Foster Grandparent Program, so I work very closely with Laura, but why I'm here today is to discuss the Volunteer Engagement Program. So the Volunteer Engagement Program was created under the Kenny administration and launched in August 2016 with the sole purpose of removing barriers to service for individuals all the way up to corporations. During our inaugural year, we hosted 53 days of service with 43 different partners and 1,486 volunteers, resulting in $50,222 in donations and 4,225 service hours generated for the city of Philadelphia. And we have a nationwide reach, and our success is largely due to the personal approach that we take, because what we understand is that most want to serve, but many do not know how. And so that's a little bit about the Volunteer Engagement Program. I'm going to turn to Laura now.
I'm reading the slide. The Foster Grandparent Program is a federally funded grant that matches low-income seniors ages 55 plus with children who have exceptional needs as identified by their teacher in early educational environments. Currently, we have 100 plus seniors in service throughout Philadelphia at more than 50 sites, serving approximately 350 children per year. Each senior volunteers 15 to 40 hours per week. During fiscal year 2017, our seniors volunteered more than 94,000 hours with the City of Philadelphia.
Again, I'm with Philadelphia Corporation for Aging, and we're actually the area agency on aging for Philadelphia County. And as a result of that, we're responsible for coordinating a broad range of services, as you all may be aware of. Again, we have a network of over 22 seniors community centers throughout Philadelphia. We have 9 satellite meal programs that offer an array of services, in addition to administering a senior companions chapter. Again, for seniors who are in need of in-home services, we administer an in-home support program, which is a preventive intervention program that sort of ushers people into the aging arena without the need for long-term care. In addition to that, for those individuals who are in need of long-term care, we have a home and community-based program that offers in-home care, assessments first, and then long-term service coordination benefits. We provide home-delivered meals. We have a caregiver support program. We provide home repairs and modifications. We have a program called domiciliary care, which is basically foster care for individuals who are 18 and over, who may be in need of housing in a home-type environment. And we also have an ombudsman program that serves individuals in long-term care facilities, and a nursing home transition program that helps to transition people who are in nursing homes back into the community. So that is a mouthful, but we do provide a lot of services. Thank you.
So as I said, the Mayor's Commission on Aging is a unit within city government that provides both services and policy supports as we think about the kind of city we want to be. The demographics are astounding in terms of the number of seniors. When I first came on board 7 years ago, Philadelphia had about 12% of its population over 55. That number is reaching 20% very, very quickly. So as those needs arise, we provide direct service through information and referral. Within the Aging Network, in our partnership with PCA and other organizations, there's no wrong door. So if you come to the Philadelphia Corporation for Aging and it's something that the Mayor's Commission can assist with, those referrals are made. If you come to the Mayor's Commission and it's something that PCA or some other organization, Senior Law Center or CARI can handle, then the referral, the warm handoff is made. We also have a couple of programs. One of our most active areas is the job development area. As many of you have personally discovered, getting older is not the older that you thought that you saw your parents or your grandparents experience. So many people come to our offices looking for work. And we have an open job development area where anyone who's 55 and over can come, work with our folks, and get an email if you don't have one, because in today's workplace, you don't apply for a job with pencil and paper, you apply online. So we can assist you in obtaining an email, in creating a resume, and in doing a job search. What did you do in your prior experience? What were your major skills that you can then transfer to something else? And so we assist you with that. We also have the Senior Community Service Employment Program, which is funded by PCA, that puts seniors in a training situation. So let's say you haven't had much experience with computers, we may connect you with a host site that will help you to get comfortable with using computers, et cetera. In today's workforce, again, computers are such a significant portion of what people do in almost every job, including janitorial, keeping track of the equipment you've used or the chemicals you've used, et cetera. And finally, I personally work across city departments as issues come up. So I collaborate and sometimes brainstorm and sometimes think about how we can support the seniors who live in the city. That's not going to change. One of the phenomenons in Philadelphia has been that the burbs have not provided the kind of environment that people want to have as they grow older. They don't want to drive anymore, they want to have easy access to services, and what better place than Philadelphia, where in some circumstances you can walk to the doctor, the dentist, the supermarket, and your favorite play, all within blocks of each other. So we've been getting a net in migration. So the city is changing in that respect, but it's a fabulous opportunity to connect across generations, and that's what volunteerism enables folk to do. Something that Laura didn't mention, and I think is just amazing about the Foster Grandparents Program, is that it connects people with amazing skills that they can provide in an environment that's very safe. That, again, is what we hope to do, and in some of the discussions today will provide that opportunity.
So now we're going to spend a little time getting into what David, I had worked with David, and we had a conversation about the barriers, that the whole reason for why we're here today is that it's been expressed to him that there are significant barriers that members of the LGBT Elders Initiative are facing as it relates to their wish and desire to get more engaged and be a part of the change they want to see out in their communities. So the next 4 slides are kind of going to just briefly open up a dialogue about what these perceived barriers are and how we can overcome them. So right here, the first barrier that David and the LGBT Elders Initiative had identified was that finding organizations that are LGBT friendly is a barrier. We want to understand, where can I volunteer where I can be open about my sexual orientation and or gender identity without fear of being judged from staff and our other volunteers? Who in this room kind of feels and identifies with that statement?
Say it again.
The statement was, where can I volunteer where I can be open about my sexual orientation and or gender identity without fear of being judged from staff and or other volunteers?
Me.
That holds true for you? Yeah.
Right.
And the other point was, many LGBT elders do not feel welcomed in church or faith-based communities. Who does that feel like it resonates with? Yeah. So what I did was I reached out to a very dear friend of mine. Her name is Amber Hikes, and she is over with the the Office of LGBT Affairs with the city. And I asked her, we talked about this. She has been amazing with helping to grow my depth and my breadth of information as I continue to add this layer on to my work. It's a much needed layer that, I'll be honest with you, I wasn't aware that I was missing until I started to begin to have conversations with Amber. She's helped me understand that there is a really a needed layer that I needed to kind of put on top of the work. So Amber was able to provide if you look on the other side of your folder, there is a space there, there's a packet there called Philadelphia LGBTQ Affirming Faith Spaces. So this is a few pages here, and it's a packet that Amber and her team put together that she says are LGBTQ affirming faith spaces, and it's broken up by religious background. So we have Jewish resources and Muslim resources and Christian resources, and going further back we have a Hindu resource as well. So this packet is here for everybody to take advantage of, to understand from an LGBTQ community perspective what are some spaces that you can feel safe in. So that is in there for you to be able to review and hopefully be able to get more engaged and involved in some of these spaces. Everybody found that in their folder? Okay, anybody didn't have it in their folder? Good. So I'm gonna turn this over to the next slide for Laura.
So the second barrier,
Yes. Sorry. Yeah, that's the right one. There you go. You're good.
the second barrier to volunteering for LGBT elders is finding opportunities to help the communities that we are a part of. Opportunities to help other seniors, and opportunities to help within the LGBT community. So in your folder, there is a little form here that has a lot of lines and 3 questions. We're going to invite you to fill this out, and we're going to collect it at the end. So the question reads, what does an LGBT inclusive volunteer site consist of to you? The second question is, can you name a few places that you have volunteered with in the past that you have enjoyed and why? And the third question is, can you name a few places that you have volunteered with in the past that you did not enjoy and why?
So we created this flyer here, and I am going to ask that all of you try your best to fill this out. And the reason why is, as I'm continuing to work with Amber Hikes in the Office of LGBT Affairs, the new conversation, the new discussion that we're having right now is, when we're thinking about safe spaces from a volunteering perspective, is what does that look like? How do we give an LGBT-friendly or inclusive designation to a site, right? So I have a binder of all these different host sites that when people call and reach out and say, I want to volunteer in this way, this is what makes me excited, this is where my passion is, I then go to my binder and say, and my team will go to the binder and say, okay, well, we have these places that you can feed homeless people at. These are our host sites that we are partners with that you can go feed the homeless in, for example. But my thought was, when I said to Amber, I said, well, so what? So I'm supposed to just call these places and say, hey, are you inclusive? And they're going to say, of course we are. And I'll be like, all right, great. We'll give them the designation, but is that deep enough, right? And me and Amber had a really great conversation about that, because she said, well, no, that's not enough that somebody says they're inclusive. They have to mean that they're inclusive, and there has to be some evidence that shows that, you know, in their policies and in their procedures, that they're an inclusive and friendly space. So part of that is what we're trying to do is we're asking you guys to help us by telling us what it feels like, looks like to you. And then Amber, later on next week, she's going to go onto her social media and ask the Philadelphia LGBT community as a whole the same question. What does this look like, feel like to you, so that we can begin to have a conversation and generate a dialogue, so we can figure out what are the criteria? What feels good to you in this community, that when you go into a space, it feels inclusive, it feels welcoming, and you feel that you're able to be your authentic self without fear of being judged, right? So that's what we're trying to get to the bottom of, is what does this look like for all of you? Sound fair? Yeah. Does anybody have, like, while we're talking about this, does anybody have any thoughts on that? Like, what does an inclusive volunteer site look like or feel like to any of you? And you can holler it out if you feel like you have something to share. Please. Nobody?
I always look to see if there's anything in their brochures or anything that has language to LGBT people.
Yeah.
Not just one time, like
Right.
one time, so it's like, oh,
Yeah.
okay, people get it.
Right.
Or a picture or sometimes that's helpful for me.
Absolutely, because again, and I'm going to keep referring back to my conversations with Amber because they're my favorite. In talking to her, like I said, my issue was, sure, people can volunteer in the community. You can go to places that are known entities in the community, and you can volunteer there, and that's fine. But you shouldn't have to just stay in your community, in this community, in order to volunteer in a play that feels meaningful to you. You should have the option, and we're going to work to make sure that you have the option, to volunteer outside of the LGBT community and still feel welcomed and still feel a part and still feel like you are adding value to whatever cause that you feel passionate about. So that's what the goal is. That's where I'm going to try to drive the work, but I need you guys to tell me how to drive that work, right? I need to know, what does that look like? So when I call and I say, hey, partner site, are you inclusive? I can add some backup questions and credentialing to say, okay, well, do you have this in your policies and procedures? You know, do you have these protections? Do you feel this way about the group and things like that, to make sure that as we are sending volunteers out, they do fit the criteria, and even if they don't, they can work towards that and understand what it will take for them to get where they need to go. Make sense? Yeah. Fantastic. All right, so I think we're going to continue to move forward, but I am going to still ask that everybody fill out that form, because we're going to collect it, and it's really going to do a lot of help to me to kind of move the work forward. So I'm going to move on to
All right, the next is finding volunteer opportunities through technology. Many organizations use the internet as a primary volunteer recruitment tool, since elders may not be as familiar or comfortable with this technology. Many sites, example, Volunteer March, Serve Philadelphia, allow you to search volunteer opportunities by area of interest. Now, what we're experiencing at the Mayor's Commission on Aging is that we really have different sets of seniors with different skill sets. So we have the quote-unquote young seniors, folks who have worked in technology or worked where technology was required and feel very comfortable in engaging. There's also folks who come to the Mayor's Commission on Aging who have absolute phobias about using technology. And many times, as I cited in the job search, don't understand that today's workplace is just technology is how you access it. Internet and job applications online is how you access it. So it's important to be sensitive to the opportunity for those seniors who feel comfortable, and also to open through various programs that we use. We're a part of the Generations Online program, which seniors can take at our offices on our computers and get comfortable with digital technology and spend time creating an email or emailing, once they have it, emailing their family, friends, etc., and getting that comfort, because that's where the technology is.
Regarding finding volunteer opportunities where elders are able to use their skills in meaningful ways, I'm involved in several programs that offer volunteer opportunities, but one in particular was just involved in a major initiative to, number one, educate our volunteers about some of the areas or problems or barriers that nursing facility residents encounter living in a long-term care facility. So just during the latter part of October, we actually participated in a course that educated us about some of the problems that long-term care residents encounter. Through that, all of our volunteers were trained. As a part of certification of the course, we were given, through the Pennsylvania Department of Aging, a special rainbow pin, so that as our volunteers are going in and out of nursing facilities and personal care homes, when they encounter residents, those residents know that it is safe to communicate with our volunteers, our ombudsman volunteers around sensitive issues or any problems that they're encountering. So again, the entire world is not fully educated on LBGT issues, but we feel that our programs, including the Apprise program, are really making major paying major attention to try to better understand and to also educate our volunteers and to invite volunteers who understand the issues to participate in our programs. So again, after retiring, many elders can feel a sense of loss, both a loss of social networks and supports, as well as that of their professional identities. And one thing that we do know is that doing good is good for you. It's nothing like that feeling of going out and helping someone. You can't buy that feeling. And so through volunteering, that is one way of helping to make yourself feel good and not focus on your own issues, but to help others. And also, it is challenging to find volunteer opportunities that call upon the skills and experience elders have attained during their professional lives. And so through programs like the Volunteer Ombudsman Program, the Apprise Program, which is a health insurance counseling program, the Foster Grandparent Program, the Senior Companion Program, where seniors serve other seniors in the community, is a way of giving back. And also, over and over again, all of the programs say that they benefit as much as they gain through serving others.
Fantastic. So now that we've identified what have been identified as the barriers, I want to have a larger, more inviting conversation about how we overcome these barriers, right? So with the first one, as we said, finding organizations that are LGBT friendly, I feel like you've taken the first step by attending this presentation and subsequent resource fair. There are numerous inclusive organizations that are here today to educate you about who they are and how to get involved with them. The Volunteer Engagement Program, the one that I run, will be working with the Office of LGBT Affairs to comb through our existing list, as I said, of host sites to ascertain which sites are inclusive and what that means from a volunteerism perspective. That's a really great step that I'm going to try to take and, like I said, move the work in that direction to make sure that as we continue to recruit new host sites, that even if it wasn't on their radar, that it's on their radar now, that it's something that they should be aware of, that everybody needs and deserves to go to a place and a space and feel included and invited. And I had this meeting with my team just last week, and I'll be honest, some of my team members were like, well, aren't we complicating things? And I said, well, complicating them how? They said, well, you're putting on this new layer to the work. Why? And I said, well, because we are now, it's been raised to consciousness that there is a community out there that's struggling a little bit more, right? There's a community out there that's having a greater struggle getting engaged and getting connected to volunteerism that is impactful to them. And when they go, they have issues with feeling safe and invited and included. And that's a problem. Because what's my number one rule? I asked my team, and my team said, well, which one? And I said, no, the number one rule about our volunteers, if they go out and they don't have a good time, that place doesn't get volunteers again. I will not send my volunteers out to have a bad time. I just will not. I will not. Our volunteers have to go out and have a good, positive experience. In order for me to continue to send you volunteers, you have to really, like I tell them, you have to cherish my babies. I treat all my volunteers like my babies, and if you're not going to cherish my children, you can't have them anymore. That's just the way that I feel about it. So as I continue to send you volunteers, if I get really bad reports back that says, oh, I had a terrible time, I've had reports that have come back that way that said, oh, well, we got there, they didn't know we were coming, they weren't really excited or receptive to see us, they thought we were somebody else than who we were, they kind of gave us some stuff to do, but they weren't really engaged and they didn't really, And I said, oh, no. I had to call that host site and my partner and say, well, now what happened? And then we were able to peel back the layers of that onion and figure out, well, my coordinator had called out sick that day. So there was a backup crew that was there, and there was a breakdown in communication on their side, and I had made it very clear to them, that just can't happen. I can't send volunteers, especially my corporate volunteers as well, to go out to a site to put their dollars and to put their energies towards something and not get what they deserve out of that, which is a positive, meaningful experience, right? So that's what we're really trying to do, is make sure that every time we send any of our volunteers out, everybody deserves to have a positive, high-quality volunteer experience where you get to go and meet people where they are and feel fulfilled by your experience. And that's what we're going to continue to work towards. And also, as you guys have already seen that I gave you, Office of LGBT Affairs has provided a list of LGBTQ affirming faith spaces because we do recognize that that is a barrier. Me and Amber had a great conversation about that, and she was like, it's a problem. It's a very big problem that people in the community don't feel comfortable or wanted in these spaces. So we're going to continue to try to make this list bigger. It's 3 pages right now, 2.5 really. We want to grow that list. We want to grow that space, and we only can grow things by having open dialogue and getting people to open their minds and continuing to move the needle forward. And that's the goal. Any questions about that?
Yeah.
Yes.
You said that some of your staff asked why you were adding this extra layer.
Absolutely.
It sounds like there's some incompetency there.
Agreed.
Have they received competency training, seeing that they're going to be the ones who are sending these volunteers to these organizations? Because it's very difficult for a person who is not competent to ensure that someplace that they're referring folks to is competent.
Absolutely, and that's a very fair and valid question. So the person in question on my staff, I will admit, is a little more conservative, a little more reserved in their thinking and the way that they go about things. It's an older gentleman, and he's just like, hey, why rock the boat? And so I've explained to him, this is not rocking the boat, this is moving the work forward. That's what we're doing. So the goal will be to definitely get training and to make sure that everybody is of one accord on my team as we continue to move this initiative forward. And the way that I try to do that with my team is to do it through open dialogue, to make sure that I bring the right people to the table to explain, right? Because if you've never been exposed to something and you don't understand something, it's hard for you to advocate for something, right?
So surely you won't be like connecting any potential volunteers to him until he is competent.
Absolutely, absolutely. And again, he's a great guy. He's just an older gentleman who just doesn't, he was just like, I don't understand why he's like, why do we need to do this? Why are we going through and combing through, existing host sites to say, are you inclusive? Isn't everybody inclusive? And I said, well, we would like to think so. We would like to feel so. We would hope so, but that's just not always so. It's not always the case that every place is inclusive and wants everybody to feel and have a positive experience. So our goal is to make sure that before we send anybody out, that it is that. He just doesn't, his thought was, well, are people really going out and discussing their gender identity or their sexual preferences while volunteering? Is that a thing? And I said, well, no, but the point is if they want to, they should be able to. That's the point. That's the goal. That, and like I told him, in the same way that I go out and speak about my husband and my child freely, people should be able to go out and talk about their significant others freely. When I go somewhere and I say, oh, you want to see a picture of my son? You want to see a picture of my husband? Oh, look, this is us on our vacation. Everybody else should have that same right too. And just as freely as I do it and as openly as I do it, you all deserve that same freedom to be able to say, hey, you want to see my spouse? Here's a picture. And it shouldn't be looked at with judgment or, anything. It should be as openly accepted as it is when I do it. And that's the goal. And so again, like you said, it's going to take some time to change hearts and minds, and we are going to definitely work on getting more training for all of our staff, but we want to continue to move the work forward. Any other questions about that part? Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, with the last one you talking about being judged.
Yes.
I be judged a lot of times.
Yeah?
But I tries not to let it get me because I know where it can take me, right?
Yeah.
So what I do is I pray.
Yes, ma'am.
I pray and I say, God, I'm just gonna let it go.
Yes, ma'am.
Because I've been judged, about my status in HIV. I've been judged about, the church I go to.
Yes.
There's a lot of people in there that, I know they don't like me, but you know what? I still give them a hug anyway.
Yes. Yes,
You know
ma'am.
what I mean?
Yes, ma'am.
So, that's where I'm at with that.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I thank you for your courage for sharing that with all of us. And I really think that it is important that everybody just work to be more inclusive. And I think when we open minds and we open hearts, we're able to get there. I just really think that's really what it boils down to. Anybody else have anything else they'd like to share before we move on? All right, next slide.
So again, to talk specifically about some of the programs that I'm involved in at Philadelphia Corporation for Aging, one program that you may be interested in is a program, again, that consists of seniors who are serving other seniors. And again, if any of you can relate to the idea of being socially isolated and maybe not connected to anyone, the Senior Companion Program is geared to help overcome those issues. So these are seniors, individuals who are 55 and over, who are serving other seniors who are in need of companionship. So again, this is a very neutral environment. It's an environment where we identify seniors. We pay a very small stipend, but it is tax-free. It's a $2.65 per hour stipend, but it is tax-free. And we have monthly in-services and a lot of other benefits that go along with helping to volunteer. And what we do, we match you with other seniors who are in the community who would benefit from visitation and help from other individuals. So it is a very involved matching process. So if you're interested, we would not send you in an environment that's not hostile or friendly, and we would take that into consideration and try to match you. So in addition to providing companionship, you're also receiving companionship. And many, again, of our companions talk about the sense of family that they experience when they connect with their consumers.
Well, I think there are resources in the city, and sometimes when we're talking to seniors, we just did 5 focus groups across the city as we're thinking about what would it take for Philadelphia to be an age-friendly city. And one of the themes that came up in every single one of our focus group was access to information. That parts of the challenge for seniors is how they can get to information. So with key spots, which are very, very good, we've used key spots a lot, especially when we want to do some training, digital access. The key spots are located in people's communities, and so they don't have to travel all the way in town to come to the Mayor's Commission on Aging. They can in fact find the services at the key spot centers. And the closest one here is at Philadelphia Fight. We use that one extensively because we really, there are many times when we have 7 computers and we have 20 seniors who want to use them, so we need to use every resource we have. There's also the website, serve.phila.gov, to help folks really connect with the kind of volunteer opportunities that would satisfy what many seniors are looking for, which is to leverage what you've already done in your life and the experiences you've already had and the skills that you have already developed and be able to give them back, whether it's to a particular community. One of the challenges for seniors in Philadelphia, for example, is language. There are many language communities that in prior times, their families would have served as the safe place for them to be. Well, between war and strife and despair, they've had to move from their nation to Philadelphia. And they find themselves very, very isolated. And there's a lot of work in terms of making sure that we reach out to those kinds of communities. So there are opportunities for folks to use skills that they have gained through their life and make an impact in someone else's life.
And I just want to also note, in the new year, we will be moving, serve.phila.gov, the back end of our website, will be moving over to Volunteer Match. And so I know that David had said that it will be really helpful for us to have a guide for how to use Volunteer Match effectively. So we created one for you. So this packet inside your folder on the right side is a full how-to guide for how to go in and set up an account on how to register on Volunteer Match, and then not only how to register, how to verify your email, and then from there how to actually source opportunities to get you engaged from a volunteerism perspective if you're looking to just get yourself engaged in some ongoing service and opportunities there. So this guide right here inside your packets is a directional how-to guide for how to go on to volunteermatch.com. As I said, in the new year, our back-end site will be linked up to Volunteer Match, and that'll be our primary use for how, when you go to serve.phila.gov, it'll redirect to Volunteer Match for you to be able to source opportunities and volunteerism. And this guide right here shows you how to do that effectively.
Okay, so another way to overcome barriers to volunteering is finding volunteer opportunities where elders are able to use their skills in meaningful ways. So the Office of Civic Engagement and Volunteer Service has a volunteer engagement coordinator named Jeanette Bavwendizzi. I knew that. Who takes the time to have a one-on-one meeting with each volunteer seeking to utilize their skill set in a more meaningful way. Skill-based volunteering is very much in demand, and the Office of Civic Engagement and Volunteer Service office is working diligently to streamline this process.
So yeah, we have a staff member in our office named Jeanette, and Jeanette works really close with people in the community who are looking to get engaged. So again, there are the one-size-fits-all options, right? Like I like animals, I want to go to the ASPCA, and I just want to go volunteer and pet cats and play with dogs, and that's just my jam. That's what I want to do. That's a Volunteer Match moment. You hop on Volunteer Match, you say, I want to go to the ASPCA, and you sign yourself up, and that's a more set it and forget it thing. But sometimes it's not that easy, right? Sometimes I want to get engaged, I want to volunteer, I would like to be a part of the change that I wish to see in my community, but I don't quite know how, and I don't quite know what that means. That's when we call Jeanette. And we say, Jeanette, you know, Mr. Smith would like for you to come and have a meeting with him because he wants to get engaged. because she understands the nuances of that. So what happens is she'll come meet you, whether you want to do it over the phone or whether you want to do it in person. She will come meet you and have a conversation with you to say, okay, Mr. Smith, what are your interests? What do you like to do? What are you passionate about? And from that, she will take that information back to the office, and we will figure out what the best opportunity is for you. There is no longer gone are the days of one-size-fits-all volunteering. It really needs to mean something to you. In order for you to volunteer effectively and do so consistently, it has to be an experience that you're enjoying when you go and you engage and when you go and do it. If you hate painting, and every time you go to work or you go to volunteer somewhere, they're like, oh, we're gonna paint this classroom. You're gonna be like, I don't wanna paint the classroom, I hate painting. I hate painting, but every time I turn around, you want me to come paint something. You're not gonna keep going, right? Because you're gonna say, well, all you guys want me to do is paint, and I hate painting. We wanna make sure that everybody's able to volunteer in a way that is meaningful and impactful to yourself, to them. And what we'll do is we'll do an interview with you to figure out what you're into, what excites you, and then try to match you on an individual level. So Jeanette is the next tier of whether or not you want to go to volunteer match and match yourself, or whether or not you need that custom fit, because it's not a one-size-fits-all answer. So we do have Jeanette as a resource in our office to help you. Benefits of volunteering. So I know everybody always says, well, volunteering makes you feel good, but there are studies, there are real actual studies. So if you look in your binder, in your folder, there is a 2-page printout that we were able to print out from our federal funder, the Corporation for National and Community Service. They fund the Senior Companions Program as well as the Foster Grandparent Program that we run. And they have a lovely report here that you can take time to read for yourself. But the basic premise of this report is that there is an association between volunteering and mental and physical health benefits, such as lower mortality rates, fewer physical limitations, providing a sense of purpose, lower rates of depression, higher levels of well-being, and reducing risk of isolation. Now, I can speak to that because I know that in the program that Laura and I work on together, the Foster Grandparent Program, I'm going to talk about Pop Talbert. And Pop Talbert is a recent widower. He lost his wife of 35 years. And when he lost his wife, like he said, he lost his purpose. He said, me and my wife were best friends, 35 years, and now I'm by myself. And he was looking for something to fill the hole. Like he said, nothing will ever bring her back, and nothing will ever quite fill that hole. But I can try. I can go out in the community, and I can love babies. I can love some children. And so he joined our program, the Foster Grandparent Program, and now Pop Talbert serves, Pop Talbert serves in a classroom with children, and it fills the void just a little. And that's all we can, that's all we can really hope for, is that when you go out and when you volunteer, it helps fill the void, right? Whatever that void may be, whatever that emptiness might feel like, whatever the isolation you might be suffering from, whether you have a significant other or you don't, or they came or they left or they've gone on, you can come and volunteer and find a new community and be a part of a new mission and be a part of have a new goal and a new purpose in your life by volunteering. It's a beautiful way to get out there and become a part of something bigger than yourself. It's a great way to meet new people and make new friends. My seniors, I got about 109 of them right now. 117, we just 117 seniors. And it's a family. It's a wild family. We're a bit dysfunctional. It can get a bit rowdy. We're a fun group. You know, it's a room full of women, and we have a handful, we have about 5 or so men in there. But out of the 117, there's like 5 men, all the rest are women. So you get all these women in a room, and it's a lot. But it's a family, and it's a network, and they're friends, and they look out for each other, and they say, oh, she's not here today because she had that appointment, but I'll take that and give it to her. It's a new family. It's a new dynamic, and it gives them a new sense of friendship and hope, and that's a really beautiful side effect of volunteering. It gives you the ability to live a more active lifestyle. When you have to get up every day because people are counting and waiting and depending on you to show up, that's a great thing. You know, when you stop working, when you retire, you know, like my grandmother, she enjoyed retirement. She said, I'm gonna love this, I'm gonna lounge about, I'm gonna do whatever I want, I'm gonna sleep in. And that lasted her for about a good 2 months. And then she said, well, I'm bored. I need to wake up. I mean, she just started waking up at her regular work time and putting her face on, she said, and doing her makeup, just because she said, I'm tired of laying about and not getting dressed every day. So she started to just get up and get herself dressed every day just because she needed something to do. Now she goes out and she volunteers. And like she said, it means something to me that I have to get up because people are waiting on me and depending on me to show up and help out and be a part of the change I wish to see. So that's really important. Stay connected to the community around you. If you retire and you sit at home all day, you're not really out there meeting people where they are and being a part of anything, right? You're kind of just in your own space. Because if you have nowhere to be and you have nowhere really to go, that's a problem, right? But if you volunteer, it lets you get up every day, go out every day, be a part of the community every day, see things. And it doesn't have to be every day, because some of our volunteers, they volunteer 3 days a week, 4 days a week, 2 days a week. It's really what you're comfortable with, but it still keeps that connective tissue. It still keeps you engaged and out there and being a part of your community, which is always really important. And it helps you to further a cause that you're passionate about. It really does. I know that I volunteered before with the Make-A-Wish Foundation. Now, the Make-A-Wish Foundation is very personal to me because I have a younger brother and a younger sister who both have benefited from the Make-A-Wish Foundation. I have a younger brother who has a heart disease, once thought to be terminal, but he is 27 years old and growing and thriving. And thank you. And I have a younger sister who's a cancer survivor. She was diagnosed with cancer at 10 years old, and she was in remission at 11 years old, and she's been in remission now, thank God, 15 years strong. Very exciting. But the Make-A-Wish But the Make-A-Wish Foundation was wonderful to my parents and wonderful to my family, and we were able to go to Disney World. It was in the middle of my final exams in college, and I wasn't really excited about it, but we went. You know, I was trying to explain to my parents, like, listen, my professor doesn't care about Mickey Mouse. He doesn't care. I need to do this paper. And they were like, well, you can give them this note. And I said, Mom, notes don't work in college. I can't just go to my professor and be like, my mom wrote me a note. Yeah, my mom thought she could still write me a note in college. She was like, I'll write you a note. Your sister has cancer. And I said, I know, but like, I have final exams and I kind of like need to be here. Can't you guys go to Disney without me? No? Okay. But it was a beautiful experience. I got a D on that paper, by the way, and I mailed it to my parents. I said, you own this paper. This is your fault. You made me go. So anyways, but the point is, you know, I later was able to volunteer with the Make-A-Wish Foundation, and it was a really beautiful experience to go and be a part of another kid's wish, because I know what it felt like to be on the receiving end of that. You know? So when you can help further a cause that you're passionate about, when you can go out there and touch lives of children, or touch other seniors, or touch animals, and make sure that cruelty is not occurring at a higher rate. You know, when you're able to get out there and really get a part of something, the benefits are tremendous because you are now pouring your passion into action. And that's a beautiful thing. So, next slide. In closing, if any of you would like to reach out to any of us, we have a contact us page on the back here, and I've given you all of our names, our email addresses, and our direct lines of contact, as well as our websites across the bottom, for you to learn more about who we are and what we do.
Hopefully you all know a little bit about the Elder Initiative already by virtue of being at one of our programs. And some of you have either are currently volunteering with us or have in the past. But our volunteer opportunities range from anything from helping to be on some of the committees that plan events like this, so helping to think of topics and put together programming like this. We have folks who like to write, who do writing for our website, for our newsletter, writing about LGBT aging issues. We have a recently launched advocacy committee for folks who are more focused on tracking policies at the local, state, federal level, and trying to organize people around making their voices heard for legislative actions. And we're also always looking for people who are experienced writers or fundraisers who can help us with some of our development efforts as a small nonprofit here in the city. Always looking for people to lend their expertise at planning events, helping to write grants, and doing some of that community research. And our intern, Leanne, is actually going to be the one who's back at our table. So could we get Penn's Village? Penn's Village, you want to come up here and talk to us for a moment?
Hi, my name's Eileen Glass, and I'm the volunteer coordinator at Penn's Village. Jane Ely, who's the executive director, couldn't be here today. I started as a volunteer there several years ago, and now I meet volunteers and interview them. And I have to say, this has been such a positive experience for me. I'm a retired social worker, and as the other people spoke about volunteer experiences, people would say, I have just the right place for you, and I would get there and they would ask me to stuff envelopes for 3 hours, and that was not something that I wanted to do. Penn's Village is part of a network of villages that goes across the whole country. There are probably over 100 villages. It started in Boston. Penn's Village is 10 years old, and its primary goal is to keep seniors in their own home, let them age in place, and get support from the community, from their neighbors. Unfortunately, lots of us have family and friends who live all over the place, and so we find ourselves as older citizens sort of being isolated. So what are the services that we provide? We have a huge contingent of volunteers who go in, provide companionship, run errands, help with computers. We even have a new program that helps seniors navigate the healthcare system and become like an advocate for them. We also provide services for caregivers, because we're really discovering that caregivers have lots of issues about burnout. And one of the services we provide is that we have a support group once a month for caregivers so that they can talk about some of these issues. Besides all these services open to volunteers and members, we have educational programs, social programs, cultural programs where people can meet one another and sort of include other people that they never would have known before. I can't say enough about Penn's Village. I just absolutely love it, and thank you.
All right, and next we'll bring up Carrie. Carrie, the Center for Advocacy for the Rights and Interests of the Elderly.
Really long name. So that's how we use the acronym. My name is Nicholas Clemens. I work with Carrie. I'm on the staff there. I'm also a coordinator for one of the programs that we offer volunteering for. A little bit about Carrie. We are a advocacy nonprofit right across the street from City Hall in the Penn buildings. A big part of most of what we do is we advocate on behalf of people who are 60 years or older on a myriad of issues, ranging from things like long-term care and health insurance, transportation, pretty much you name it. If you've got an issue, we'll see if we can help with it. Some of the volunteering opportunities that we are some of the ways we utilize volunteers. We consider pretty much all of our volunteer opportunities to be fairly skills-based. We utilize in-house or state training. The first program is also, I think I saw some more flyers around for it through PCA as well, is the Ombudsman program, where we use volunteers, train volunteers to actually go out into the community and advocate on behalf of people who are in long-term care facilities or short-term care facilities that may or may not have family members that can help them advocate on their behalf. We also have this Carry Line. We have Carry Line volunteers. That is the actual call-in service, the advocacy service that we use at the center, where if someone calls in with an issue, we have trained volunteers that can field that call and help find ways to direct them to services or directly advocate on their behalf with organizations to make sure they receive the help they need. The last opportunity we have is through the Senior Medicare Patrol Program, or SMP program. The SMP program is a federally funded grant. Carrie actually does this for the entire state of Pennsylvania, and we use, you don't have to be, but most of our volunteers are over the age of 60, and they're trained in both Medicare as well as Medicare fraud. And then they go out into the community to things like senior centers, or independent living facilities, civic groups, church groups, things like that, and provide educational presentations on how seniors and their family members can protect themselves from Medicare and Medicaid fraud, as well as identity theft and things like that. So we've got kind of a swath of different programs that may be of interest to you on the back corner there. So stop by and say hi. Thanks.
And let's next bring up the Ralston Center. So, bring up Michael Johnson. Michael was our intern at the EI here last year and then graduated and is now over with Ralston. So here's Michael.
Hi, everyone. I'll keep it short and sweet because I'm pretty bad at public speaking. So I'm with the Ralston Center. We're in University City, 36 in Chestnut. And so the two opportunities that I'm here to talk to you all about, volunteer opportunities, and there's a lot of talk about using your skill sets and your passions and things like that. The first one is a cooking opportunity that you would be a cooking leader. And we go into senior centers and churches and we work with you as a cooking leader and other senior participants in a communal cooking session. You have fun, you tell stories, you cook together, and then at the end of it, you can take what you've created for yourself or to share with other people that you know might need it. And then the other opportunity that I have is a technological opportunity. It's for anyone who is a little bit tech savvy. We go into partner organizations and we teach seniors how to use tablets. So if you know how to use a tablet or you want to learn how to use a tablet, you can come see me. I'm in the back corner over there. All right? Thank you all.
All right, and let's bring up AIDS Fund.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
I'm just going to start my own introduction from here. My name is Tim Johnson. I'm the Assistant Director for AIDS Fund. We're very close here in the neighborhood. We're actually right upstairs on the 4th floor. And we, I know, right? We provide emergency financial assistance to HIV-positive people in the Philadelphia area through small grants. They could be for rent, they could be for an electric bill, they could be for a bed to sleep in, because we believe that when people have their most basic life needs met, they are way more able to stay in care for their HIV, keep their viral loads suppressed, and live long and healthy lives. So to fund this program, we run a number of fundraising events. You may have heard of some of them. The big one that we do every October, the third Sunday in October, is the AIDS Walk. We've been doing that. We just had our 31st AIDS Walk back in October. The other ones that you may hear about that we do 9 times a year is the world-famous Gay Bingo, run by the Bingo Verifying Divas. I've seen several of our bingo volunteers are here in the room today. And as a staff of only 4 full-time people and 1 part-time person, we run these large-scale events. We need a lot of help from our volunteers, and that's where you can come in and you can get involved. So we have a group of seniors that come in every Thursday before our monthly bingo events and help us stuff the 500 to 700 bingo programs that we have to get done. I don't have enough time to do that, so we have a group of people that come in and do that. We can also use your help at our events. We have a lot of different opportunities for any age, for any physical ability, so we'd love to have you at that. And then, as I said, we just had the AIDS Walk, but we use about 300 to 400 volunteers on that one day alone, so you could all sign up for that and help us with that. If you don't want to volunteer with us, you can still buy a ticket and come to bingo. You could still register and walk or run, if you want to, in the AIDS Walk. We would love to have you. As I said, our offices are right upstairs. Feel free to stop by sometime. Give us a call, send me an email. I'll be right here in the back. I have our bingo schedule, so you know when those are coming up. I have my business cards. We're running a toy drive right now for the holidays, if you'd like to participate in that. I'd love to speak with you in the back. Thank you.
And next we'll bring up Serena from Lutheran Settlement House.
Good afternoon, everybody. Can you hear me? It's okay? All right. So my name is Serena. I'm from Lutheran Settlement House. We've been around since 1902 up in the Fishtown area. We're a multi-service agency, so we have a senior center, we do domestic violence counseling, we have a family caregiver support program, a women and children's shelter, and then I'm here to talk to you today about our adult education program. So this program provides small group one-on-one tutoring to adult learners who are working towards high school equivalency diplomas, some other educational or professional goal. So we both need learners, but we also need tutors who are asked to make a 6-month commitment to tutoring 2 to 4 hours each week. A learning plan and textbooks are provided. Tutors are required to have a bachelor's degree and must also complete a tutor training offered by the city's Office of Adult Education. And prior teaching is helpful, but not necessary. So if you have any questions, there's some information in the back. Thank you very much for being here.
And I'll also say Serena was one of the individuals who helped us to plan today's program. So we appreciate her and Lutheran Settlement House for helping us out in that regard as well. Action Wellness. Why don't you guys come up?
Good afternoon. I'm Jay. Thank you. I'm Jay Johnston. I'm the coordinator of volunteers for Action Wellness, and I'm very excited to be here today. And I actually see several of my volunteers here in the audience, so thank you for coming out. Action Wellness was founded by a group of 50 volunteers back in 1986. They started an organization called Action AIDS. And these group of volunteers provided support to people living with HIV and AIDS when there was a time when people were being ousted, discriminated against, and they did not have any support. And so because of these volunteers, we are here today, and our volunteers are a big foundation for our agency. So we love to have volunteers. The biggest opportunity is the buddy program, and that's where the volunteer is matched with a client that's living with chronic illnesses, because we now service people with chronic illnesses, not just HIV, and provide limited emotional practical support, which basically means calling the clients once or twice a week over the telephone just to check in with them, and doing a face-to-face visit with them 2 to 3 times a month. And going out, maybe have a cup of coffee, utilizing the immediate seating program, and going to some museums, see some shows, concerts, and so forth. So that's the largest opportunity. Some of the other opportunities we have is special events, which includes Dining Out for Life, which is our largest fundraiser, and the volunteer acts as an ambassador in the participating restaurants that donate 33% of their proceeds on that evening, which is typically the last Thursday in April. This year it will be the 3rd Thursday in April. And as an ambassador, you just welcome the guests for coming out, participating for Dining Out for Life, and talk a little bit about the agency. And it's a fun evening, and if you are not able to volunteer, we encourage you to at least go out to one of the participating restaurants and enjoy a pleasant meal. We also go to events like Philly Pride, Outfest, and so forth. So we would love to have you come. I'm actually having a new volunteer orientation this Monday, December 11th, from 6 to 9. So if you want to learn more about the opportunities, please give me a call. I'm in the back, and we hope to see you on Monday. So thank you very much.
So I know that you guys already heard from us, but I do want to let you know, for everybody here, there is also another way to engage with us. So if you're looking to plan, this is for all of the people in the back, if you're looking to plan a day of service and you need additional volunteer support, that is something that my organization, the Volunteer Engagement Program, does as well. If you go onto our website, www.serve.phila.gov, and you can put in a request for volunteer support, we have another side of our website where people come in and request days of service, and then we have the other side where people request volunteer support, and we work to match these organizations and groups with service. So we have tons of groups that are looking for service, and we're always looking to source more volunteer opportunities. So if you have an opportunity that you would like for us to try to match volunteers to, please make sure you head onto our website, and we can make sure that we send you some volunteer support that you may need for your day of service. So that's important. The other thing that I want to do in my other hat is talk about the foster grandparent program. As I said, if you are a senior, age 55 and over, who has a passion for children, who wants to have a generational relationship and nurture a child, we would really welcome you to come and join our program. We are currently in the midst of our recruitment drive right now. We currently have slots open for another 15 grandparents. And then always we'll be doing recruitment on a quarterly basis in 2018. But we are looking right now to bring on 15 additional grandparents and have them starting for the new year. So if that's something that you're interested about, Laura and I will be back at our table momentarily, but please, if that's something you're interested in, let us know and we'll get you registered for our next eligibility session, which is this coming Wednesday. So there's that, and then there's also the other opportunity in my office, which is the Philly Reading Coaches program that will be launching in January that allows anybody of any age to come in and volunteer to read with a child one-on-one during the course of the school week. So if that's something you're interested in, again, I have flyers and materials in the back at our table as well. Thank you.
All right. So momentarily, we're going to close out and give folks time. We have this room until 3 o'clock, so feel free to take the next half hour or so and talk individually with all the organizations that are here. Really hope that folks will take advantage of this. And one thing that's important to remember is not every volunteer opportunity is going to be right for every single volunteer. So I think take some time to really find out what some of the different options are and where you can go for more information. So again, want to give a big thanks to all of our panelists. We can give them another round of applause. And also a big thanks to the organizations who have come in this afternoon to talk more about what they're doing.